Doing what we like, doing what we enjoy, it's easy. Anyone could get up. Like, in fact, that's most people don't need motivation to do what they like, because when you start doing what you like, the motivation is there. You don't need to be motivated. You don't need reminder. You don't need an alarm, because you have a goal. You see, when we all have a goal or a dream or plan, it becomes very easy. You see, whatever we engaged in, it becomes seamless. And I think that's why people always say, follow your passion, follow your passion. You hear that everyone says, do what you like, do what you like. Of course, everyone wants to do what they like. I haven't seen one person who their whole life focus is to keep doing what they don't like. But the problem is sometimes we have to keep doing things we don't like until become really good at doing it. And then we start liking it. Because if everyone just did what they like, I tell you, we wouldn't have new inventions, new discoveries. Everyone would just be stuck. Doing what they like. And doing what you like sometimes doesn't really push you. It doesn't open you to new avenues. Because doing what we like, it's enjoyable. If you keep doing what you know how to do, what you enjoy doing best, if you show up and just did what's acceptable to you, that you have reached an acceptable level to you, become an expert in this role, and you're not pushing yourself further, you're not expanding your mind, then you would start to decline. We would all start to decline if we don't push ourselves beyond that limit, beyond the place where we want to do more. Everyone has a goal, everyone has a reason why they want to do more, why they want to be more, why they don't want to be, for lack of word, ordinary, average. Everyone has a reason. But most of us are stuck in that place because we don't want to do something we don't enjoy. We don't want to push ourselves. We don't want to stretch our minds. It's like when you take an exams, you constantly put under pressure, and that's how you discover yourself. That's how you find yourself, by deliberately putting yourselves in a position that's uncomfortable. You see, the longer you push yourself beyond that acceptable level into the plateaus where there are very few competition. And that's why some people are better than others. Not because they have some special gift, or it's because they have the determination to push themselves further than that acceptable zone, further than that zone where everyone needs motivation. They focus on the action. They just keep taking action. They just keep doing it. When they fail, they try again. They've learned a lot from their mistakes. They just keep going. And then people start wondering, how come? It's just like taking practice shots. You fail so many times, but you celebrated for every time you hit a home run. and probably takes like 1,000 strikes for you to hit one home run. But without those 1,000 strikes for which you're not celebrated, you will never get to shine when you hit that home run. But most of us are so scared of those practice shots, those 1,000 strikes out, because we all want to do what's enjoyable. And there's a saying that if you spend most of your time deliberately doing what's enjoyable to you, you would end up spending most of your life in an unenjoyable position. That's because you've refused to stretch yourself, you refuse to push yourself, you've refused to grow. You refuse to grow. That's why most people who end up becoming something spend a lot of time, like scientists, researchers, entertainers, sports stars, personality, anyone who's done something, they spend an enormous amount of time being in the dark place, practicing to get better, to become the best of the best, to just against any competition or no competition, they've given their all. They've set a timetable, they have a goal, they have something driving them. Of course, we all have passion to do what we enjoy, spend most of our time. But if we all spend all our time doing exactly what we enjoy, I tell you, like, look out. If you gather around 10-15 people and ask them what they're passionate about, what would they rather be doing for the rest of their life, most of the time, what they would rather be doing for the rest of their life has no way of earning an income, has no way of generating a revenue, has no way of keeping a roof over their head or putting a food on their table. So everyone enjoys, most time, their passions is more like a hobby. Everyone enjoys that place where you have no challenges, you don't have to stretch your mind, you don't have to put yourself in an uncomfortable position. No one likes that. But the few people who go there, those are the people who come out on top. So we should all follow our passion, we should all do what we like. But sometimes we need to keep doing things that we feel very uncomfortable until we become very good at that. Take for instance, if the lobster never feels uncomfortable, they would never shed their skin. And if they never shed their skin, they would never grow. And that's the problem with humans, because we don't have that thing, itching. We don't have that exoskeleton that we have to shed. So, and we've got the luxury of time. We've got the luxury of options, opinion. Take for instance a tree, a seed. They just have to grow. They have no other option. But we human, we have the luxury of options. We could either grow or decide not to grow. We could either do or not do. We could push it back a week, a day. We could move things around. And that advantage we have sometimes becomes a disadvantage to a lot of us. Because we'd rather be in a position where we do things we enjoy more than things that contribute to our growth, more the things that develops our mind, more the things that makes us think. The answer is really simple. It's very let me put it this way. Sometimes it's painful, sometimes it's boring, sometimes it's depressing, sometimes it's isolating, in which The opposite of all these things I've mentioned is they're far from easy. And you know what? Who wants to be in that position? Who wants to constantly keep pushing na something with no return? None of us want to be in that position. None of us want to keep pushing. None of us want to. Who wants to constantly be in an uncomfortable position? No one. But the thing is, most time we need to become a trainee. We need to. Everyone you celebrate today, someday, sometime, somewhere, they started as a novice. No one paid attention to them. No one celebrated them. No one gave them the opportunity. But they kept on going. They reached out to thousands of people, and everyone, like, why would people reach out to them? They were nobody. But today, they celebrated. Why? Because they never gave in when everyone doubted them. They never threw in the towel when everyone counted themselves out. Why? Because they knew in themselves. They believed in themselves. They knew, like, I have to. I have no other option. If you've had the quote before, which, or the terms that says, burn the boat, that comes from people saying, I'm going all in. I've crossed the river. Now I'm going to set the boat on fire, so I have nothing to return to. Some people just have that. Their whole focus is action. Regardless, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to fail. People are going to laugh at them. They're going to become a joke. They already accepted all those, and then they still go against it. And those are the people who become something. Those are the people who succeed. Those are the people who thrive, because they already accepted the failure first before anything, and they say, yes, I'm going to go against it. But how many of us are willing to put in ourselves in that position? How many of us are willing to become the joke? So for you to try, for you to succeed, for you to do, you could take, for every new thing you're learning, or every new thing you do, you are a trainee, you're learning it. So just understand, it might be difficult at the beginning, you might need more motivation than the next person, but you are your own competition. Even when you keep failing, but you keep going against it. The answer is action. The answer is action. As far as you're not stopping, as far as you keep going, as far as you keep pushing, you might not get to A, but you will definitely get to B. But what you can be assured of, what you can guarantee, is you're never going to be in that same position of never trying. You're never going to have the regret of, I never did it, because now you've done it. You're probably going to learn from your mistake, but if you never take a step, there's no way you're going to learn from your mistake. There's no way you would have known if you will have made it, or you will have stumbled and failed. I was listening to Jim Rohn the other day. He was saying, most people always start, what about if I don't make it? What about if you make it? There's always two sides to the coin. What about if you start and you succeed? What about even if you fail 1,000 times and then you succeed one time? And that's what happens to every baseballer. Every time they have a strike, they celebrate it. What about if you do it and it works? What about if you become a success? What about if you've gone through all this and at the end of the day it doesn't work out, but now you know never to go back, never to take that way? You've cancelled that. You're never going to make that mistake in your life anymore. That is a learning experience that many never have, because they never took the first step. They never tried. There's two ways of learning. You learn from your own mistakes, and you learn from the mistakes of other people. And where do you find the mistakes of other people? From those who've taken steps, failed, and they've written about it. You're never going to find or learn from other people if no one ever took a step, if no one ever made a mistake. But you could see there's so many people you idealize today. They've done things which have flopped. They've put their lives so saving and everything, and it never works out. But at least they know they tried, and now they have to try another way. Why? Because they learned from that mistake, and they're never going to make that same mistake again. That's the power of trying. That's the power of action. That's the power of knowing I myself, I'm not a failure. If I want to grow, I can't spend the rest of my life being in a position just keep doing something I enjoy. Of course you're doing that, but how are you growing? Are you learning something new? Are you stretching your mind? It's like when you have to solve a new equation. Of course, you feel the pain, but when you overcome it, you feel the reward, the joy. You might make some mistakes, but when you eventually learn how to do that thing better, the joy you get from that, you don't experience it anymore. Even if you repeat it 10,000 times, you don't get that same joy. And that's why when we become very comfortable, we need to move on to something new. And that's how we grow. That's how we develop. If it wasn't so, you would never go to school and go from grade 1 to 2 to 3. You would just stay in one class. Why go to grade 1 to 6 or 10? If you can be successful just being in grade 1, why grow? Why develop? But after school, most of us put in ourselves in a position where we become so scared to fail. We become so scared to try. Why? Because we never want to be laughed at. The opinion of other people matters so much to us these days that we'll never, because why? We're waiting for other people to approve us, waiting for other people to applaud us. But not knowing for everything we do, we come first. If I succeed, I succeed for myself. If I fail, I learn from my mistakes. But not trying is the biggest failure of all. Not trying, not giving it a go. That is the biggest failure of all. Not giving it a go. There's this saying, people always say, life is too short to be stuck, doing something you don't enjoy. Why spend the rest of your life doing something you don't enjoy? But to get good at anything, you have to start somewhere. So we should all do more fun things. The problem with doing fun and easy things is it doesn't enlighten the mind, doesn't enhance you, doesn't develop you. You don't grow, it doesn't push you. You become very comfortable. It doesn't bring you face to face with yourself. Some people say the best you can be is discovering yourself. Especially in a world where people trying to pull you left and right. Emerson says that the best you can be is to be who you are. In a world where people always trying to pull you left and right, make you decide, give your opinion. So why are we so scared of trying? Why are we so scared of giving a go? Because the problem is not in the failure itself. The problem is the perspective. What we think people are going to say about us. How we think people are going to feel about us. How we're going to be looked upon. They say for every decision, for everything you do, most of us, the action has been taken before, or the decision has been taken before the action starts. So if you take that decision and say, yeah, I might not win, but I'm going to go into it. You're going into a fight. If you strategize like a fight, I'm going into a fight, I might not know the outcome, but I'm going to go into it. That's why sport is so loved by most people, because you go into it not knowing if you're going to win or lose, but you still go into it like a gladiator, regardless of the opinion, regardless of the perspective, regardless of how people see you. You still go into it knowing you might come out winner or a loser, but at least you've learned from that experience. Most time it's a bad experience, it's a bad activity, it's about the event itself, not the result. Of course we want to grow, we want to develop, but how many of us are willing to put ourselves in an uncomfortable position for longer? How many of us are willing? If you're always in a comfort zone, you are not growing. If most of your life is revolve around having been in a fun and easy position, that means you are not growing. And you're going to spend the later of your days in a very uncomfortable position. Take for instance, most of the musicians, most of this, even the musicians you celebrate today, even the skit makers you celebrate today, they spend a large proportion of their time thinking, planning, and that doesn't come easy. We all see the end product and we enjoy the skits, we enjoy the music, we enjoy the creativity. We all see that, we love it, but we don't see the amount of work that goes into it, amount of thinking that goes into it, amount of research that goes into it, amount of course that goes into it. We don't see that. We all spend our time these days listening to other people's blog, especially scandal. Most of us want to spend our time in a fun and easy life. We spend most of our time observing what people people's blog, what they're saying about someone's life, especially when there's scandal. We want to pass most of the time. We want most of our time to be passed through something. Why? We become consumer of information, consumer of every single thing. But why? Because it's fun and easy. We spend most of our time doing fun and easy things. We enjoy it when there's like a lot of scandal, so we could give opinion about that. But do we know those scandals? Those are other people's life. But other than that, the person that's brought you the scandal, do you know the research they've done to get that? The skits you're watching, do you know the amount of effort that goes behind thinking, planning, strategizing, writing a proposal, like rejecting a lot of other skits that this wouldn't make it? Do you know the amount of effort that goes into it? But we all see the final product and we're very happy. But we forgot there's people behind this who have taken a lot of time to go into a place that require thinking, into a place that means stretching their mind, into a place that they're very uncomfortable for a long time. Why? Because they want to present something to you. We are only limited by ourselves. We are only limited by ourselves, nothing else. The truth is, today's difficulty makes tomorrow easy. No obstacle, nothing can tell you what to do. Only you can make the decision. Only you can make the decision. And everything we do starts with that decision. Nothing can tell you, regardless of how hard, how difficult, how enormous the obstacle is. Only you can make that decision to try or not to try, to go or not to go. Only you. No matter the obstacle, it will never say no to you. You want to go for a run, you want to run 1,000 miles, it will never say no to you. You make that decision, is either I go or not. You want to try something new, only you can make that decision. Do I give it a go or not? So if you focus everything you do on action first, not the result. If you see the action, let me give it a go. If you start from that premise that you only trying, you only give it, but not just trying. A lot of people try something, but they've already accepted defeat. They've already accepted failure. But if you try from the premise that I'm going to give you 100%, win or lose, but I'm going to give you 100%, not only trying because I just want to try. Our life becomes what we are willing to bargain with. What are you willing to bargain with? What kind of commitment are you willing to give? Life can bend for you. But you have to be willing. We're like trees. We like trees. Regardless of how heavy or how strong the storm is, you still see a lot of trees survive while some break and fall. So the obstacle could bend you, but don't let it break you. So you could bend to the circumstance, but you're still going to get up, stand, and fight. But don't let it break you. Why? Because all my life, I've not met one single person who spends most of their days, most of their time, every day, just passing time, just being a consumer, just observing, just being a fun and easy place. I've never met one single person who's gone on to become something more than just that person who spends more time, or who allows time to pass them or time to go through them. I've never met that one person. That's because every day, every time, every hour has to be accounted for. Everything you do has to have a plan, has to have a goal, has to have a dream, has to have a destination. We human, we like the clock. It just keeps ticking regardless. It just keeps ticking. What you do with it, it's up to you, but it's always on the move. So life is always on the move. What you do with the time allocated to you is just down to you. But one thing to remember, the more time you spend in easy and fun place, that means you haven't tested yourself, you haven't tried yourself, you haven't come face to face with yourself. So the more time you're going to spend in an uncomfortable position. You see it today, a lot of people retired with nothing to live on. They work 60, 70 years, 40, nothing. That's God. You haven't gone on to stretch yourself. You haven't said to yourself, I have to do something more than what I'm doing today. If most of us are honest to ourselves, if you take a step and look at yourself and like 5-10 years from now, if I keep on doing this same thing I'm doing, where am I going to end up? If you can answer that question honestly, then you would know. If you had to pivot, you have to do something different. If you have to grow yourself, you have to develop yourself, you have to learn a new skill, a new course. If you have to associate with new people, if you have to do something to grow, because you don't want who you've been last 5 years to be the same person you're going to be 5 years from now. That's 10 years of no growth. And why is it so difficult for us to do this if it's that simple for us just to say, I will do something, I will grow, I will become better, I have no competition, I am my own competitor? Why is it so difficult for us to do that? Because everything, just as easy as it is to do, it's called equally easier not to do. Just the single power of opinion, the single power of saying, I will do it tomorrow. Procrastination, pushing it back, looking for everything to fall in place before you take a step, being too scared to fail, especially not failing for yourself, but failing because you don't like or you can't stand how other people are going to see you. I think that's the biggest fear we have in our life, how other people are going to see us. I don't want to speak because they're going to perceive I'm not from here. I don't want to act because they're going to say I'm not cultured, I'm too aggressive. I don't want to do this or do that because of what people are going to say. We base our life sometimes just on the opinion of other people, and these people just they go 5 seconds, you don't matter to them anymore. But then we base our whole life on other people's opinion. We know it's easy not to do. But if you can start with a goal, if you have 10 things on your list, you end up doing 2 at least. There's 8 months to go. At least you've knocked off 2 of the list. And tomorrow you can start stronger because at least you might have more momentum to do at least 3. Now you have a goal. But I've discovered the biggest problem we have in our life is not setting goal, not having a list. Most of us we just wake up to the day. And whatever happens, happens. Maybe we'll have to go to work. 8 hours, we have to sleep 8 hours. The last 8 hours of our life, everyone has 24 hours in a day. Most of the time, the first 8 hours is spent working for someone else. The next 8 hours is spent sleeping, and then you have the last 8 hours to yourself. What do you do with that 8 hours? Do you spend it scrolling, watching skits, watching comedy, or do you spend half of that at least trying to develop yourself, trying to learn something, trying to do something, trying to grow yourself, trying not to be that same person you've been for the last 5 years? Because whatever you do with your day today is going to tell 5, 10 years from now, is going to tell. However you invest your day today is going to tell. None of us has that power to take a day and add it to the end of the year. Like, oh, don't worry about today, I'm not going to use it, I'm going to add it to the end of the year. None of us have that power. So we have to try and be accountable every day. If I have 10 things on my list, if I can't do 10, let me do 2. At least that's a start. That's a start. Now, if you couldn't do 10 but you've done 2, don't slaughter yourself, don't kill yourself, but become accountable to yourself. And that pushes you to do at least 3 tomorrow or even more, because now you have something to motivate you. Like some morning, I want to do a lot of things. I like the motivation to do it. Sometimes I put in some music, I listen to some inspirational words just to get me started, because I know I have to do it. That is my to-do list. And most days I sleep in when I have no to-do list. I realize that now. I'm lying in bed, even awake, I'm thinking, what do I do? What do I do? Because I have no to-do list. I haven't planned the day before. So most time, get yourself going. Have a to-do list. Have a plan of what you have to do. That should set you on the right path. If you could even have a time for social media, for easy and fun time, 1 hour each day or something. So you know you have to do this, or let it be a reward. If I do this and this and this, then I have this time to spend on social media or whatever. Become accountable to yourself. Imagine if someone could take a day from you and someone says, look, Mr. A, today we're going to take it from you. For whole of today, 24 hours, you're not going to exist. We're just going to take it from you. You would fight tooth and nail. You would do everything just to have a day. But now you have that day, multiple of it, abundance of it, and you spend that day just observing other people, listen to people's scandals. I'm not saying you shouldn't do all those things. You should. But ask yourself, what's the reward for all these things you're doing? What have you created for yourself? What have you done for yourself? What have you accomplished for yourself? Have a reward. A carrot and stick approach. If I do so, and so, then I can reward myself with whatever you think. But at least have some productivity in your life. Try to create something first. Try to grow yourself. Try to become good in what you do. If you're working for someone, trying to become the best you can be in that company. Because I tell you, the better you get, the more your value increases. Not everyone in this world would own their own businesses or become a self-made millionaire, or become a boss, or become a music, an artist, a footballer. A lot of people are going to work for other people, and that's how it is. It's always a 90-10 ratio. A lot of people are going to work for a lot of other people. But what sets you apart? What sets you apart in what you're doing? I was reading the book by Cal Newport the other day, and he was saying, like, of course, everyone wants to own their own business. People are frowning against going to work now, doing something, working for other people, being in the cubicle. They call it against the cubicle nation. No one wants to do it. But the thing is, there's a lot of people who are doing very well working for other people. Why? Because they've grown themselves. They've developed themselves. They've increased their value. So not everyone is going to be a musician. Not everyone is going to be a footballer. Not everyone is going to be a superstar. But some people are doing very well in whatever they are doing today because they've increased their own value. and they've become so good in what they are doing, they can't be ignored because they bring in so much value. And now their value, they're being paid more money than ever because they've increased their value. Jim Rohn says you should work more on yourself than you do on your job. And what he was saying, from my understanding, he's not saying you shouldn't go to work. No. He's saying even whatever you're doing, working for someone else, you should develop yourself so much that no one could overlook you in that field. You should become the best you can be in that field. A lot of people frown about people. Everyone wants to become an entrepreneur these days. Everyone wants to work for themselves. That it's fantastic. No one should be doing what they don't like. But what about if you haven't got the capital? If you haven't got the skills? You need time to develop all this. And some people, you don't have the luxury of leaving your job and just jumping into something different. You need to have one foot in your job and while you develop yourself. I've seen so many people who have just jumped ship, quit their job and jump into something different. But there's a percentage of those who have succeeded and a larger percentage have failed. Why? Because those who have succeeded have spent time developing some skill in that area. They've made plans. They've not just woken up one day and jump ship. We all suffer from the same thing. A lot of people live their lives traveling around the world to discover something. We are looking for something to give us that meaning in life. Some people have traveled around the world, gone to the monastery, some people have taken a vow of poverty, and after 5-10 years, they've discovered that is not even the truth. The meaning is always in action. What are you doing? What are you doing? Is there another way you can increase your value? Is there another way you could become so good in what you're doing that you the point of call, everyone goes to you? How can you work on yourself to become the best in that field? Sometimes it's not about going to learn something different, something new. Sometimes it's about investing in what you already know. Working on yourself that you become so good that everyone looks at you for answers. Increasing your value where you are sometimes. That's all that's required. Some say if there's hope, there's tomorrow. Difficulty lasts for a short time, but reward is forever. But some of us are unwilling to go through that short time period of working hard, developing ourselves, being in an uncomfortable position, stretching our mind for a better tomorrow. A lot of us don't want that. We just want to get to the top. Just start today and, as they say, blow tomorrow, without knowing the work, the time, the effort that it takes to go from A to B. It's not that you can't, or if you won't. Some people, there's always random balls there. Some people, it happens to them, it might be seen as overnight, but some people have to go through every step, every nook and cranny, every day, hour after hour, day after day, to get where they need to be. It's different for everyone. Why? Because we are different. We're human. The thing is, it's not that you can't. The thing is, what is your why? What's your reason? Is your reason big enough? What are you focusing on? Is the thing pushing you? Is it stopping you from sleeping? Is it keeping you awake? Is it hard on you like a lobster's exoskeleton that you have to get rid of it, that it will never stops you? And that's the drive that some of us have that pushes us until we get to where we need to be. And some people don't have that. That's why everyone can never be the same. Some people have that thing that keeps pushing them to become better, and some people need more motivation, more inspiration, more push. I spent so many time with a lot of people who everything is set out for them, yet they require more and more. They ask for more and more. They complain more and more. They have all the opportunities laid out before themselves, and yet it's still someone else's fault. Why nothing is working for your life? Why they are not where they need to be? Why they haven't done A or B? We don't really fear failure. That's the truth. Because if someone, even if a baby, I'm sure you've noticed this, if a baby falls and no one is looking, most time they get up and continue. If a baby stumbles and no one is paying attention, or the mom is not paying attention, most time they get up and continue. But if a baby falls and the mom goes, oh, that baby starts crying. And even if a baby could do that, talk less of you, an adult, who you welcome, or you live on other people's opinion. So the thing is, like, we don't really fear failures. We fear how failure is seen. Would we be accepted? Would they talk about us behind our back? How would I be seen? Will I make a fool of myself? Well, would I become the joke? Are all the things that stops us from trying. The perception of failure, not failure itself. Big businesses fail every day. Small ones fail. Big companies fail. Millionaires lose all their money. Things happen every day. There's so many reasons why things happen someday, but it's the perception that keeps us where we are. I was listening to this. I was reading this book by Mark Manson, and he was saying that if you accept that there is nothing to fear, that him who could not laugh at himself has already failed. Because when you fail, as you would do, most people who succeed actually fail more than they succeed. So it's part of life that you would fail sometime. It's inevitable. That those periods when you fail, you simply laugh at yourself. Oh, how clumsy am I? You pick yourself up and you keep on carrying on. Those are the people who make it. Those are people who are willing to stumble and get up. Those are people who are willing to fall and carry on. So it's not about the failure. It's not about the falling. It's about what you do after it. It's about the decision. It's about falling in love with the process. It's basically not about the destination, because as human, when you choose A, when you get to A, you will need B. You want a house, maybe you're living in a shack. You want a house, you get one room. When you get one room, you're looking at your neighbor, they've got 2 rooms, now you want 2 rooms. From 2 rooms, you want 3. From 3, you want a walk-in wardrobe. Walk-in wardrobe, you want your own personal toilet. Personal toilet, you want a bigger kitchen. Bigger kitchen, you want a bigger garden. Bigger garden, you want the biggest car. Biggest car, you want the biggest brand. Biggest brand, you want a castle. A castle, you want an island. Human would always want more. Why? Because we have the power, the opinion, the power to choose. We can never settle for less, because there's always someone out there who is doing better than us, and we always want to be that person. But when we fall in love with the process, when we accept, then we're on our way, because we know that we might fail, we might stumble, we might win or lose, but we made the decision before that we are always going to get up, stand up, and carry on. And that's how winners come about. Those who are willing to fall, get up, stand up, and carry on. That's the making of champions. That's the making of winners. Those are the people who stand above the rest. Those are the people. But you know what? No one celebrates those failures. No one cares about that. If you failed 1,000 times, like Emerson did when he was inventing the light bulb, some says it was 3,000 times he failed. Some says it was 1,000 times. Some say it was 10,000 times. But no one knows those other failures. We only know one thing: he invented the light bulb. Some say the Wright brothers flew the plane for the first time. Some says it was someone else that invented it. But we knew they flew it for the first time. I think it was 4 minutes on the air. And then we didn't know the other times they flew that nothing happened. We celebrate them today. Only success, only action would people celebrate. And how do we get to that? By failing multiple times. In his book, Failing Forward by John Maxwell, John Maxwell says failing forward. So it's not about the failing forward. That means learning from your failures. John Maxwell, Failing Forward. You should read that book. This is one of my favorite books, Failing Forward. So it's not about the failures. You fail, you get up, you learn from your mistakes, and you carry on. But the thing is, try not to fail repeatedly on one single thing. That means you haven't learned. So it's not about failing. It's about not failing on the same thing over and over and over again. Learning from your mistakes. That's where failing forward comes. Because every time you fail, you learn. Every time you fail, you grow. You become better. Experience. I used to think wisdom comes from age. But if you take one person who spent the rest of their life 100 years old, they actually never took any action. They sat on one place or in one position for the rest of their life. Of course, they have experience. They could tell you about sitting in one spot for 100 years. But they only experience in that field of sitting in one place. A 20-year-old kid who's done more in life would have more wisdom to give. Why? Because they have action. They've taken steps. They tried and they failed. Succeeded some other time, but failed more than they've succeeded. And that's life. We are most likely to fail more than we succeed. But when we're being celebrated for our success, no one remembers the failure. That's the thing. No one remembers our failures. Everyone celebrates success. Every musician you've known, I'm sure they've done a song that flopped. That's quickly forgotten about. But when they have a hit, people just have so much comment. I listened to a music the other day, and some people were pulling a guy for having a dedication song that's gone to number one. A dedication song that's gone to number one. But I'm sure that guy must have tried a couple of times and the worst thing was this guy wasn't even a musician. He's a skit maker. But he's developed his craft by practicing the skits. And this one has gone to number one, and everyone is like, but that's what practice does. It helps you grow. You will never become better from not trying. You would try and fail. You become an experienced person. And that's why most people are likely to give you, or you're looking for a new job. What's your experience? That's the thing. Someone who's tried and failed. What's your experience? That's what we want to know. Not someone with the cleanest result who's never failed. It's someone who has a record. That's what life is about. Record. The process. So if you can fall in love with the process, if you can fall in love with going from A to B and not worrying about if you fail, but knowing that you would keep going until you get there, that's what separates the 1% from the 90%. Again, in all spheres of life, not everyone is going to own their own business. Not everyone is going to become a millionaire. Not everyone is going to have the perfect life. The thing is why? Because a human being, you cannot really compare yourself with another person. Someone who's flourishing in one sphere of life is probably failing in another sphere of life. Someone who's like the best banker in the world is probably the worst golf players. Everyone has their focus in life. Someone who is a rock star in life, everything, they probably have something they wish they had, and which you might have. So that's why, of course, we use other people's benchmark to help us work harder, but we are our own competition. If we are willing to work as hard as that other person, we might not become that person. Of course, you don't want to become that person, but you want to develop yourself. You want to become the best you can. The best you can is someone who's trained, developed themselves in whatever they're doing, that they have become so good that they can't be ignored.